a Build Hatch developed production.
Hello, I'm Aaron Kyle and welcome to another episode of Build Hatch. On this week's episode of Build Hatch, I got to sit down with Bryce Island from Island Tiling in Melbourne. Bryce and his team of tilers are working on some amazing construction projects in Melbourne, and this episode was a real beauty. In this episode, we covered almost everything relevant to current times. That is, how you grow your business in the current market, with all of the daily challenges including people, materials, workers, and even logistics. If you want to know how to adapt in the current market, including finding workers and evolving almost on a daily basis, then this episode covers it. As you'll hear, I really enjoyed talking to Bryce and getting to know him, and you'll enjoy this episode too. So let's get into it. Bryce from Island Tiling, welcome to Build Hatch.
G'day, Aaron. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Look, thanks for coming here. Now, we're recording this in Melbourne, and like all, I guess, we always love to hear the story behind how you became Island Tiling. But before we get into it, we'll go back to the very beginning. So did you grow up here in Melbourne?
Grew up in Emerald, up in the hills, yes. Yeah, I haven't really moved until recently. Well, since getting married. Moved down to Berwick, not too far. And yeah, that's it.
What were you like as a kid going to school?
It wasn't for me, like most trades, I guess.
Did you know that early on?
Yeah, I think so. I got in a bit of trouble just for not listening in class, Wasn't a pen and paper sort of guy. Was more hands-on. Just wasn't for me from primary school, I reckon. I sort of knew this wasn't my scene in a classroom.
And did you have conversation with your parents early on? Like, am I going to go to year 12 or pull out of school? Or like, did you have conversations like that?
Yeah, so out of extended family, cousins, I was the only one that was a hands-on sort of kid. Everyone else ended up doing uni or, mostly chiropractors in the family. There's a few of those. And my other cousins in marketing. And for me, I was not into that learning environment. And my sister ended up going to a private school. Mum and dad are like, look, we've tried to enroll you into a private school. I said, don't waste your money, keep it. So ended up, I think I finished about year 10 at Emerald and then got politely asked to leave. Went to another school in the area, Monbulk, sort of took on anyone that was in that position. And then sort of halfway through year 11, same thing happened. They said, hey, I don't think you should hang around, maybe finish this up at home. So I finished year 11 and got a job after that.
All right, so that's interesting. So you straight away knew tertiary education's probably not really going to suit me. Did you have any ideas what you wanted to do? Like what sort of made you eventually get into tiling?
No ideas. There's a bit of a backstory. I've had a lot of jobs. The boys joke about it a lot. What happened? I think I ended up leaving and starting a cabinet making apprenticeship, actually. That didn't last very long. I was stuck in a factory, doing edges and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, this isn't for me, this factory thing. So that didn't last very long.
Enclosed environments are no good to Bryce.
Yeah, it was school all over again. I was like, no, this is not the thing. Then after that, what was next? I got another job in Dandenong in the area, which is mostly known, for construction and manufacturing. Got a job in a factory there, spray painting factories, basically. This place built factories. Again, I was like, oh, okay, this isn't great, just spraying poles all day. And they had a section there with welding bays. And I was like, yeah, I did a bit of welding at school. And the foreman, I was like, mate, I can weld if you need a welder. And yeah, sure enough, they just chucked me in and started like welding plates onto gal. Terrible stuff if anyone's welded it. Not real good to be breathing in. Yeah, started smashing through that. It was pretty easy. It was all set up on jigs in bays. And I think I hit him up for a pay rise. I was 17 at the time. An older bloke opposite me, just like dragging his ass, like bare minimum. And I was like, yeah, pretty into it. And I was just pumping out these packs. And I hit them up and they're like, nah, sorry, mate, there's no pay rise here. I'm like, I'm doing double what old mate's doing over there. And then I ended up pulling the pin on that.
But hang on a minute. This is important stuff because funny as it is, you were 17 years old. Now, 17-year-old kid may or may not have the maturity or the outlook to think, I'm on a production line here. I'm absolutely smashing and I'm doing a good job. And I'm comparing myself to old mate over the other aisle who's not working as hard as me. So I think I'm worth more money there.
Yeah,
So,
pretty much. It was like something's got to give you, you know. It was a pretty different environment. Everyone was just, bare minimum. It was not great, not much motivation. So, I pulled the pin there, got my license when I was 18. Then left that job. I think I got into it was an inbound sort of call center sales sort of thing. Did that, which was really good. That was you deal with all sorts of people, cookie cutter, read the script. It was, you can just, like a robot, anyone could do it. And then I think they had an outbound call center there as well. And it was terrible because you'd start at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and you'd just be getting calls dropped into your headset. And you're calling people at dinner time and everyone hates those people. No one wants to talk to you at 6 o'clock. So you'd get yelled at on the phone.
So tell people. So it's all about keeping people on the line, isn't it? That's
much.
Once you get past those first few seconds, and you keep them on the line. That's what it's about.
Yeah. It was just you pitch them, and hi, I'm from wherever, selling electricity you don't need at a cheaper rate, and you get a few people using colourful words. It was pretty funny. The whole team was young. And you'd call back the ones that lost it. You're like, sorry, mate, I think the line broke up. And they're like, no, I fucking hung up on you. I'm like, can't hear you. And you're like, give them another go. And then, that was fun. That was pretty good. And I left that sales company. There's been a lot of jobs. There's a long story here.
Yeah, but I like finding out what got them into that industry. And people just think, oh, yeah, it's just a production line or it's just a call center, crappy job, whatever. But in all of that are the fundamentals of business, right? So you've got the production line, which is being efficient with your time. You've done a bit of that, and then talking to people.
Oh, it was great.
There's two key roles that you've just done that you probably thought this is just a dead end job for anyone.
Yeah,
but I bet you look back now, there were some real fundamentals and good learnings there.
Definitely, I think the sales thing. Not a salesman, and even to this day, I find it really cheesy, and I hate dealing with anyone who's selling anything really, especially, when they're just pumping out the same stuff, trying to build rapport, how's your family, just the same old thing. You can sort of see through that, but it was good. I mean, everything led up to helping me get the business off the ground today, dealing with people, dealing with objections, I guess reading people and building that rapport with them. So that was good.
So when did you fall into tiling? How did that sort of happen?
So a few sort of fill-in jobs along the way. Then I met my wife now. She was at uni studying teaching. And I thought, look, she's sort of got her shit together. I probably should do something with myself here instead of just jumping around different jobs. And then funnily enough, my mother-in-law found an ad in the local Leader in the paper. They were down at Langwarrin at the time. I was sort of living with them. And she was like, oh, look, there's a tiling apprenticeship here. And she's Italian. So, tiling's pretty big over there. And she goes, oh, there's a tiling apprenticeship. And I thought, I'll give this guy a call. And funnily enough, the bloke actually lived on my parents' road in Emerald. And I used to walk past his house every day after school, not taking any notice. So went there, went in for a trial, $6 something an hour, worked your ass off. You never worked that hard. And for some reason, I enjoyed it. I just sort of stuck at it and, had a good variety. I think that was the main thing for me, different job sites, different people. As much as tiling's just sticking squares to the ground, there is a bit of variety in there as well, like natural stone, mosaics, different finishes, different substrates. Yeah, got into the tiling.
And the rest is history, as they say.
The rest is history, living the dream.
One of the things that you mentioned there is about that variety. And I think a lot of builders get a little, I won't say jealous, but it is, an attraction if you want to compare, say, being a tradesman to a builder. Builders can be stuck with a particular job or a client for 18 months, even longer than that, 2 years. The beauty of you working as a tiler is you're able to go into a job and get in, get out, do the job and move on to something else. And you get that variety, which is such a positive part of being in your industry.
Yeah, definitely. The variety of of job sites as well, like different areas. You've got different scenery. The longest job really depends. I mean, we've had some pretty big jobs now, but as an apprentice, the longest one we're on was probably 3 months out in Gowanbray, near Essendon Airport there. It was a massive home. Whole thing was tiled, diamond patterned, granite, staircases. And, that was good, but glad to be out of there. To leave that one, it was a big commute from Emerald every day.
I bet. So you did your apprenticeship, and then at what point did you sort of get the motivation to go out on your own and start Island Tiling?
Yeah, so I did my apprenticeship with the residential tiler for 3 years, and then in my third year, again, the money thing popped up. A few boys,
I was going to ask, did you ask for a pay rise?
a few boys were leaving actually to go to commercial, which they pay, stupid money in commercial. It's just not sustainable as a trade, or very unlikely that you'll be in there for a long time. So went into commercial, did that, and then I don't even know, just listening to a heap of podcasts as well when I was working, because you're just watching the clock. Like, they're the slowest days, you need to do something. It's the same stuff over and over. Yeah, just started listening to a few podcasts, and I'm like, I've got to start a business. I don't think I could work for someone forever. And then I got the courage up, and I was like, look, I'm giving my notice, pulled the pin, and did that, and didn't think about it too much, just sort of went straight in. And then,
did you have a couple of contacts lined up and a few jobs?
Nothing. Nothing. I reckon that the sales job helped me heaps with cold calling and dealing with people. So pulled the pin, went home. I looked up like builders on Google, and I reckon I called at least the first 5 to 7 pages worth of builders. Hey mate, Tyler, what do you got to quote? No, we're happy with our regular Tyler. I was like, all right, sweet. Got a few contacts off that, and then I think reality hit home maybe sort of 2 to 3 weeks in, and I was like, shit, this is a big deal. Like, I've just left, we were clearing some weeks with a Saturday, you'd be taking home nearly $2,000 as a third year apprentice. Like, that's big money. It's still big money now.
It is. Yeah.
And then I called my boss up. Luckily he was a good guy, and he's like, yeah, no worries. Always happy to have you back. Like, sweet. Went back for a little bit, and then it was like, I think I was getting married in December, and it was like October, November. And if anyone knows commercial, towards the end of the year, there's generally a mass culling. Everyone gets sacked. They don't want to pay holidays. I don't know what it is. It's just how it is. Project finished. So I was let go. I had no options at all. I wasn't going back to residential. And then I just went all in with the business and made it happen. And that's it.
Straight into the deep end.
I had no options, really. It was like, wedding to pay for in December. Just bought a car. We just bought a house. There was no other plan B. It was just make it happen.
Sink or swim.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, that's what it's about, isn't it? But I guess it's also having that experience too. You kind of need to know you had the foresight to be able to ring around and get some work. So tell us about Island Tiling now. Like, got a few guys working for you, working on some amazing projects around Melbourne. Yeah,
thanks. There's about 11 of us at the moment, and that's split up between sort of 6 full-time, and then, we've got 5 guys that just come in and subby to us. They don't want to go on wages or anything. They just like that flexibility. Working for some great builders, finally. Been through a heap in the first 2 years, I reckon, just sifting through them. And now we're finding, 1 or 2 will put posts up of our work with them, and then, their competitors or similar sort of market of builders will contact us and say, I saw you working for so-and-so, do a job for us. Yeah, it's going really well. It's tough at the minute with schedules, and like everyone, delays, things not turning up when they should be.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because I see this difficulty happening with a lot of other trades, but tilers seem to do it quite well. And that you mentioned about having subcontractors, and everyone's struggling to get good people at the moment. How have you had to adapt, or tell people how having subcontractors works and allows you to still run a successful business?
It's not easy, but they are different to deal with. You basically need to drop what you're doing to keep them going. As everyone knows, if someone hasn't got a job ready for you, when they say it's ready, they'll just go to the next one. And people are paying big money at the moment to get anyone in. Some guys are even paying to get jobs done just to get them done. The subbies are good, but again, I need to have the work ready for them, and I'll pay them on the day. Like I pay my guys within under an hour in most cases from when they send me an invoice, whether that's $2,000 or 15 grand.
Yeah.
I'll go out of pocket sometimes before I get paid. Builders are pretty average on paying, not all of them, but there is a delay. And I think with subbies, they are good, but you need to really look after them. Yeah.
That's so important, because even that night you pay them their invoice. That's the key hurdle that keeps those people. Like some of those guys, some of the subbies, they'll never work for anyone else. They never want to. No. They're just happy working for themselves. So there are those guys. But then there are other guys, if you want to keep those guys working for you specifically like that, then that's what you have to do. You have to pay them that night, that day, within 24 hours basically. And they go, you know what? I love working for Bryce. He pays me that night within the hour. And that's the difference between, like, you ring them up and say, hey, I've got a job. You have to go to it. I know it wasn't meant to be ready for next week, but they want us there now. Can you get there? And he goes, no worries, Bryce. I'll get there for you, mate.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm the same with my builders. Yeah, I've had some drag out payments for 3 months, 4 months, same old spiel. I'll pay you when I get paid. I wouldn't do that to anyone. Never have, because I know what it's like. And the difference is the ones that pay me now, it doesn't have to be within an hour. It's nice. If anyone's listening, definitely pay me within the hour. But, if it's within a week, that's great. And they know that I'll be bending over backwards for them. But I'll personally start jobs myself on the weekends to get their jobs moving. Like we had a shop fit out in the city recently for a builder. Quoted that ages ago. He emailed me, hey, mate, the handover's within a week. And, me and 2 guys were there until 6 o'clock most nights just to get it done. And again, paid me within the day. We're doing another job for him probably next week, week after. And I'll make that work.
Yeah, it's so important. And what about builders listening to this who think, how do I need to be more organised? Like, what are some of the things that should really happen? What are like the fundamentals that you see in not being ready, or what are some of the better things that they can do to be ready for a tiler?
Communication, like everyone. Mostly a bloke-dominated industry. We're terrible at communicating at the best of times. That's just how it is. Yeah, just even photos with technology now. Flick us a photo of a room. Yeah, it's ready. I turned up to one the other week. I live in Berwick. I drove down to Arthur's Seat. The puddle flange wasn't installed. Checked down in the base, wasn't sheeted. I've wasted 4 hours driving to a job that I was told was ready when it wasn't. And, a simple photo, I could have said, hey, that's not ready.
The little things.
Little things, yeah. Communication's key. Like everyone, we're all reliant. We're relying on the plasterers before us getting jobs ready. So as long as your plasterer is communicating, hey, we might be a week behind. That's probably something we'd need to know.
Do you do your own waterproofing?
We do, yeah.
Yeah. Waterproofing is such a big thing in the industry, isn't it? Like,
it is, yeah.
I obviously deal with a lot of defects, and so many of them come back to waterproofing. So can you shed some light into that?
Yeah, touch wood, no leaks to this day. Look, it's not hard to do a good job with waterproofing. I think, preparation, obviously, get your surfaces ready, make sure that they are suitable to waterproof on and clean. If you've got Sky on or compress sheet on your floor in the bathroom, make sure it's not external grade, because generally they've got like a moisture blocker in them for when you're putting down sheets before your roof goes on, so they don't get damaged. They need to be treated differently. Really, I find it's just reading the products and making sure they're suitable for the membranes you're applying, and even screeds, making sure. We had a flooring product on a job recently on a balcony. The client got me out to quote, and the step down off the balcony was only about 100 mil. And this board had a minimum of 50 mil of screed. That's as thin as you can go. And it was about 3 meters from the doorway to the external point of the balcony. So we needed, 1 in 100 of fall. We would have been 80 mil at the doorway. They would have had about a 10 mil step down. And I said, look, I can't do this. It's not going to work. I called the chippy, and he goes, what do you mean, mate? I've just chucked down this flooring. It's grouse. We've used it before. said, yeah, but did you read the data sheet? No. So unfortunately, I've had to tell the client, look, I'm not interested in touching this product. It's not made to be one like waterproofed onto with the products we're using, but also the screed isn't going to work. Like I think it's just reading the products, knowing the products, making sure it's all compatible, speaking to your rep as well. That's a big thing. I call my rep at least twice a week. Luckily, I'm mates with him. We did our apprenticeship together. But yeah, just knowing what products are compatible.
Yeah, it's really important, and getting those guys involved with your guys, like your installers as well.
Yeah, like we'll try and do training courses whenever they're on. I've done my certificate in waterproofing and so have most of my guys. It's needed, and I think it will be hopefully soon when licensing does finally get put into place here in Vic.
Yeah, look, it's so important, and there's just so many flaws that happen that trigger defect eventually, and it just comes back to that organisation or having the job ready. So it's great that you're able to do that yourself as well, and you obviously understand how it all works. So what about, is there anything that you absolutely love that's happening at the moment with the tiling industry and particular tiles and things like that?
Look, there's some good tiles coming out. Terrazzo is absolutely taking over. We're still laying a lot of terrazzo at the minute. It looks good. It is good. I do like it. It does need to be treated differently, and I think people just need to know the cost to buy terrazzo and then install it is obviously more. You need to use a wet saw, sealing, maintenance, upkeep. Terrazzo looks great, but yeah, I guess just keep that in mind when everyone's still choosing it and selecting it.
So for people listening to this who don't know what terrazzo is, can you explain it?
Concrete, it's a man-made product with, I guess, concrete and fleck, a lot of stone and aggregate through it.
People love it because it's a raw look and a raw finish.
Yeah, it looks good. It does look good in the right application. But there is options, I guess, as well for like a porcelain look terrazzo, if you don't want to maintain it and seal it every 2 years or have to worry about that. So terrazzo looks good. There's a lot of large format tiles coming in as well, like 600 by 1200, very common at the minute. We've actually had to buy another wet saw just to keep up with installing those because everyone seems to love big tiles. Mosaics, coming in pretty strong with feature tiles. With the mosaics are probably leading the way. Kit Kat finger mosaics are still there, and herringbone is getting spec'd a lot, probably too much for what the boys want to do. It looks great, yeah. So with tiles, pretty much all the feature tiles are still in. Nothing super exciting.
So what's on the cards for Island Tiling and your gang moving forward?
I'm in a pretty good position. I think I could keep growing. Not that I want to. I didn't have any great ambitions of getting to this size. Early days, it was like, I put Lockie on, actually, my main guy. We did our apprenticeship together, went to commercial together, and then I started the business, and he came over as well. And that was enough. Like, I thought, just one person's enough. And then, here we are at 11. And with the inquiries and the way the industry is, I think we could double that. I've just got to make a decision if I want to do that or not. Just got my DBL in kitchens, bathrooms, laundries. So I wouldn't mind getting into that a bit more. And whether or not it ties in with the tiling business, I'm not sure.
Sometimes there isn't a magic formula that when you get to this and then you tick that box, then that means you need to grow another 2 people. It doesn't work like that, obviously.
No.
It's just like, I've got work inquiries coming out of me everywhere. I'm just going to have to find someone to deal with it, isn't it?
Yeah, that was pretty much it. It was, initially it was like, I need, help. And Lockie came on, and then it was a few more guys. And then I was like, 5 guys would be great, Like everyone you speak to that just starts is like, I wouldn't mind 5 guys. And then that happens. You think that you hit 5 guys and it's under control, everything's going to be grouse. 5 guys can handle the world. And then, your regular clients will get too busy, and then you're stuck and you don't want to say no. And you're like, I'll chuck on another couple more blokes. And then it's just a vicious cycle.
Yeah, it just keeps happening.
Yeah.
All right. So you mentioned before about times when you haven't been paid for 3 or 4 months. When you are going through a challenging time like that, like how do you handle that? What does someone in your position do?
Good question. You can't let your emotions get the best of you because it's easy to want to take it the opposite way and start yelling and screaming and, be miserable and start threatening people. It's just not, you can't just do that. I did have to get, I guess, creative with telling builders I want to get paid. Never sort of went down the debt collector route. It was I guess, a tip for the tradies. I just told the builders, look, you can pay me or I'll be asking your client to pay me. Look, it's sad that it has to get to that, but I've said that a couple of times and within 15 minutes I'm paid.
And that's the advantage too of you, because you are coming in at that later stages of jobs as well. So more often than not, concreters are usually the best paid people in the industry because unless it's a driveway at the end of the job where the builders run out of money or the client doesn't want to pay, they're in early. Yeah. You guys are the finishing trade. So it's so important.
Yeah, everyone's, clients probably being hit with, depending on how well the builder runs, a bunch of variations that they just didn't know about. And then they're a bit slow to pay or the banks are a bit slow to pay or whatever it is. Yeah, I've been lucky, touch wood. I've never not been paid. I had a lawyer draft up a few contracts and I've used those with selective clients that I think might be problematic. But again, they're 10, 12-page documents. To go through and sign that on every single job is just not going to happen. So, yeah, that's that. And then I've actually been using another company, Creditor Watch. I don't know if you've seen them.
Yeah.
They seem to be quite good. Again, if no one wants to not pay you or someone wants to not pay you, you're just going to have to take the legal route and jump through the hoops. But for us, Creditor Watch have been quite good just to do a bit of a background check on guys and, just check that no one's sort of been insolvent or crossed, directorships and default payments. There is a default payment option on there as well. Like everything, I'm sure there's 3 sides to a story, but it's a good one just to get a bit of a gauge and see what's happening or do a bit of research.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of our construction industry is that it's all about relationships. So generally speaking, everyone knows who they are and once you get into that, what I call the float, in that nice, comfortable environment where you used to work, you've done a few jobs working for good builders and you've got your team, they like your team, you like them, and you just know, and it just keeps rolling on. Because if it doesn't, then it makes life as a builder so challenging to have to try someone you've never used before. So it's so important to look after the troops on the ground.
Definitely. The relationships are a massive part of it.
I had this saying a long time ago and I love it. And it basically goes like this. It's, if you're chasing money, it means you're not making money. Yes, we all have to be in that position at some point, and you might get 50 jobs that are great and you just get that one job. But I think you're right. It's so important with what you said about not getting emotional. What you need in that moment is to continue having money coming in and focusing on making money.
Yeah, exactly. And, I guess you're essentially just a bank for someone, which is shit, when you've done the right thing. And like I was saying, with me paying my guys on time, I pay everyone first. And then, you're left chasing the builder for your small amount of profit out of that large invoice. It's not great fun, but touch wood, these days I've got a bunch of good clients. Early days I was dealing with a lot of scumbags. They're gone now, so we are generally paid.
All right, Bryce. So when you're not busy tiling and working on some of Melbourne's amazing projects, what do you like to do outside of work?
Family is the main thing outside of work. Wife and 2 kids and one on the way, so I'll be super busy. And then, a bit of fishing, working on a car. I've got an old HG Holden, which I'm getting
nice.
A few bits and pieces done now by a good mate, Brett at Black Spade Fabrication. Ask for a plug. There you go, mate. Check him out on Instagram. Yeah, so he's doing an engine swap for me at the moment, and that just a bit of fun. Always into cars and bikes, and you need something. You need an outlet outside of work and something to spend money on, or you'll go mad. So mostly cars, fishing, and family.
What's it like looking back? I have to ask you, with that kid that was trying all the different jobs, and now you settled into a nice job that you like your craft and you've got a good team.
Like everyone says, it happens for a reason and whatever. I think it was probably like tech schools weren't real big for me and my age group. Probably disappointing that there wasn't as much opportunity for us in high school. Like from memory, I think VCAL was just sort of kicking off that program. It was like hairdressing or hospitality. I don't think there was a lot of, or if there wasn't a great variety. It might have just been like carpentry was the only thing. So I don't know if there's more these days for kids. Hopefully there is. But yeah, looking back at it, I think it all sort of worked out to get me where I need to be at the minute.
Well, Bryce Island from Island Tiling in Melbourne, thanks for coming on to Build Hatch. I really enjoyed talking to you here today, and I'm sure a lot of people will get a lot out of it. It was very inspiring, so well done to you. And if people want to reach out and get into contact with you, what's the best way to go about it?
Yeah, just find me on Instagram, or you can jump on the website, or even just Google us, Island Tiling Melbourne. Happy to have a chat and give some advice.
All right, well, thanks, Bryce. Appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on to Build Hatch.
Thanks, Aaron.
Well, that was another Build Hatch episode with Bryce from Island Tiling in Melbourne. As I mentioned, he's working on some of Melbourne's best tiling projects, and I certainly encourage you to check out their socials, particularly their Instagram, for an insight into their wonderful work. As usual, if you know a hard worker having a go in the construction space, or a building-related business, person or product where you love what they are doing or selling, then please do get into contact with us, and we'll be more than happy to tell their story and get behind their goods or services on the Build Hatch marketplace. Our team are busy rolling out independent sellers on buildhatch.com as we speak, so stay tuned for more and more products and services as they onboarded. As usual, please check out our Instagram page and other socials, where you'll be able to learn more about our guests and some of the features of the work that we talk about. Have a great week, and you'll hear me again on the airwaves next week. Thanks for listening to another episode of Build Hatch.
You have experienced a Build Hatch developed production.